like when you're not attached to something and something comes in, it's like I realize like it's this everything's just not linear. Like sometimes I'll get a message and it's completely out of nowhere, and then later down the road it'll all make sense. But you'll get like a clear answer. Like it was like for what was it? Like for this with going to Thailand, it was like, you're gonna go to Thailand, or no, what was it? There's two. It was like, you're gonna spend some time with your mom before you go down to California. And I was like, I'm good. No, no, no. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm trying to figure out like how to get down to California. And then bam, smack down, like, and then I realized that was what I needed. And then there was the other one with Thailand. And I was like, well, I'll go later. But then I realized now looking back, like I literally cleared like generational, like ancestral like trauma, like healing on both sides of my family now, and that never would have happened. Do you know, like looking back, whereas there was resistance in both areas. So it's also clear like when you have resistance in some way
Yeah.
to look into it.
Yeah. Like what's actually going on here? What is this? Why do I have resistance? Where is this coming from? Yeah. It's important to notice that stuff. Facing a lot of that right now where it's just like, why am I being so resistant to this? And why am I being triggered? Oh, okay. Which is really cool now with knowing how to dive into this stuff through meditation. It's like once it comes up, it's like, oh, okay, it's time to go put on some music or hide in the corner and spend some time in meditation. Just dive into this instead of just like, I don't even know. In the past, it was just like it would just I was really just bottling up. I was just like, I can't deal with that now. I don't want to deal with that. Just stuff it down, stuff it down, stuff it down until it finally would explode.
And when it and that's even like looking on the bigger picture with that, like all like the ideas and the things that you're keeping suppressed that could come out in like an explosion of some sort, or
Yeah.
even worse, say it never comes out, but it turns into a disease of some
Yeah.
sort because you've
Yeah.
held it in, you've held that in, and like everything manifests into something else. Like that energy doesn't disappear, it still goes, it goes into your cells. If it's not coming from a place of love, it's not going to be doing good things into your body,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, there's some relation to like self-hatred to yourself can be just as it can manifest into diseases that are just some of the autoimmune diseases or other diseases that like attack the human body. It's like that's a sign of someone who doesn't like themselves. You don't like yourself, and your body's like, well, you don't like me. Well, okay, well, I don't like myself either, so I'm going to start destroying myself because apparently I'm not likable or whatever, right? And it's like, yeah, it just turns into that, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's also interesting too because with the healthcare system of it's just not like that stuff's just not looked at. And like
um,
even with like that, and it's like there's doctors for different parts of the body, but they usually never talk to each other. I mean, they say they do, but I've been in situations where like it was like my ex-boyfriend, like his dad was having like, kidney issues and heart issues, and they go see the heart person, and then they never talk to the kidney person, and they weren't supposed to do this and that, but they're not talking to each other. And then it's also like they're prescribing stuff. They're not looking more so at the diet. And then also it's like, okay, well, if you have cancer or some disease, like it's like, well, what are you keeping? Like, I mean, obviously at some point they're not going to look into that because it's a time constraint. But if you
yeah.
really start doing that when you're younger and looking at all the parts of that and the pieces, like none of this stuff is taught in school at all. You have to go and search for it. And everything's designed to keep us separated.
Yeah.
Separated, like even in every aspect, like with medicine, separated or designed to be in a low frequency, like what the music, low frequency music, most of it. You look in a grocery store and everything's usually designed for eating like the addictive foods of some sort, and looking at the back and can't describe the like what you're eating, like TV, everything.
Yeah, there was this one thing I was like watching this little clip on Instagram where this woman was talking about how the all the oil companies, or not, maybe not the oil companies, but the companies that make plastics, which is made from oil, from gas. Yeah, it's from oil. Anyways, those companies, they came up with the idea to create all the recycling numbers on there and came up with the whole system to make us feel like, oh, we can use plastics now because we can recycle them. But the truth is, most of this stuff doesn't even get recycled, and we can't even manage to recycle all of it because there's too much of it. So they just created this fake system. This doesn't do really anything to make us feel like something's in place, and to make us let go of the guilt and not even look into it and just keep destroying the planet. It goes
That's the other
beyond
thing too, is
healthy.
people don't
It's
realize Mother
awful.
Earth and us were connected. So if you're not recycling, if you're not recycling, but if you're not doing something and thinking, it's like thinking of other people, also thinking of the earth as other people, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, you're hurting yourself.
Well, we aren't it's not human. It's not humanity in nature.
Mm,
We are nature.
mhm. Yeah.
So because it's part of us and we're part of it, we have to take care of it. That's the other thing. And that's why it's related. And we also like when we meditation, it's like, we talk about, growing roots down into the earth and drawing energy from the earth. It's like, how good is that energy if the earth, if we're
But
actually
then realizing that you're an electric, like your energy, like that. Do you know how many people don't realize that if you're barefoot in the ground, like grounding, and you
Mhm,
hold like what this the thing that measures the charge, the energy, like
mhm,
you actually you have a charge. Like people don't realize
mhm,
that, and that's like the like you are literally bringing your energy into the earth. But people are
mhm.
like, ah, that's hippie stuff or whatever, Like you're not taught that.
It's because we're electromagnetic. But I was reading this one book called The Electric Mind Electric Body, and the woman talks about how scientists have been trying to disprove that we are electromagnetic, and she's like, no, like
I just
anything
love
that
to
has
just
like neurons and atoms in it, and just because of the makeup, has an electromagnetic field around it. Every single thing that does. So of course we do. So it's something like that. I gotta read the book, but basically, we have this field of energy around us because we're made of it. Like every single cell in our body has it. Every single atom, all matter is electromagnetic. Every single piece of it. So of course, when you come, even if you don't have to touch anything, you can press your hand closely over top of it, and you're still affected by it because you still have a field around you. It has a field around it, and that's how energy is passed because this is constantly just sending out those fields because it's because it's like the neurons, are they electrons in the neurons, something like the particles. I'll say it this way because I don't know. I don't like
oh,
shoot
I
myself
know.
in the foot saying it wrong, right? Because I'm not a a scientist in that area,
I
but
remember like
all right. Exactly, that's it. All the
yeah.
particles of the atoms are attached to each other through electricity and live in their own electromagnetic field. So like they're already emitting this electrical charge just out to keep them in balance, and as they bounce around and move around and stick together and all that stuff. It's like it's just doing it. Like even if our bodies didn't send signals to our nervous system as an electric charge, even if it didn't do that, just the mere fact that we are made of these atoms, there's electrical charge that's already just pulsing and moving just because of the elements. So like for example, like this table, going back to the table reference, this table, even though the tree is no longer alive creating energy, the table itself still has a charge. That's what's bonding all these things together to create this
And the
solid element.
frequency too, and the
Yeah,
frequency.
that's what
Yeah.
it is. All those electrical charges are just a frequency that's binding it together, which is
Yeah. And that's why ooh, this one's good. This one's a good one. It's like what you need to bring your body back into like because the body everybody can heal. Your body is not supposed to be sick. Everybody can bring themselves back. It's just there's different blocks, right? You're
Mhm.
the one that's blocking it. Or like specifically there's you have to get your body into that frequency of that higher state frequency, but you also have to have the mind connected with that. So the mind being like people some people at first like oh you're doing sessions over Zoom, like is it as effective? So and instantly you're having like a little bit of a block there, right?
Mm.
So it might not be as effective for that person because they have that block. And then when you realize in like the concept with me of like realizing that it's like oh it's actually like the higher selves they're together. That's why
Yeah,
like piece of like the computer. We have the ability for the energy to be together. We just don't see that. Like,
Yeah. It reminds me of the practice where I first started learning how to do meditation and traveling. It was like the simplest thing was like when you meditate, just imagine your spirit lifting out of your body and going up into the celestial realm or the other realm or wherever, whatever words lingo you want to use. And going up there and then getting energy and then sending the energy back into your physical body. So it's like creating this channel. It's because it's still connected to you. So it's sending it from one realm to the present, from from what the 4D to the 3D, and just sends it back and forth. And meditation is just you imagining yourself just doing that, just that, very simple. And so, like you said, it's like our higher self is doing that constantly to us, and that the two higher selves are doing that realm. They're constantly just sending energy. They're passing it to each other, and then they're passing it back to us and to others. And that's why from a distance you can send energies to someone who's like
mhm.
10 feet away.
Well, and
And if I
that's
can do
also
that, I can
why,
do it thousands of feet away.
yeah. And then you realize that you're your own block. And then you realize like it's kind of the idea of like with everything that's been happening day by day with like the infinite amount of downloads for knowledge and
Mhm.
learning about everything's, back to the whole. And it's like it's almost like, whoa. Like and even with my hands, like when I'm doing things over Zoom with clients or even on myself, my hands now are so connected. Like I've embodied in a way, like in a huge way, my higher self to the point where I feel like I've got magnets on my hand when I'm working with people
Mhm.
and I'm pulling things out and I'm like, I can feel, and I'm like doing things and I'm like, this is in, then sometimes I'll be like, whoa, this is like magic that is actually here. But you always just thought that was like in the movies or whatever. And it's like wrapping your head. And this is only a small scale. Like there's just so, it's infinite, but it's the blocks of realizing of how you've been conditioned to think that is fake. It's not real, right?
What you know what that is? It's funny you're saying magnets. It's really just the electromagnetic field outside of you that's just taking their atoms, or this portions of them that are these attachments, this energy, and you're just sucking it up from sending it from their physical to yours, little atoms, right? And just using your magnetic field. And it's just like you said earlier, we see things based on how or what kind of resonates with us to kind of deliver and see the message. So maybe for you, you see a magnet. For me, I see you're just got tape on your hands,
Yeah.
but you're still like,
Or
think about,
little suction cups.
I was thinking about this the other day. It's like if we were actually able to just see everything as a little particles that we are, it's just a bunch of little dots. Imagine we're all just made of a bunch of little dots. When we eat food, we're really just grabbing something that's little dots again, and it's just becoming part of our little jar, giant. We're like the Blob. What was that movie? That old movie, The Blob, and the Blob is just like it grabs something and it absorbs it and becomes part of the blob, and the blob gets bigger. Or it's actually just a children's game. There's this
Yeah.
tag. You go and tag the other person, and now you hold hands, and then tag another
Mm,
person, they'll hold hands, and that's all
yeah.
it is. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And so
It's
that's really
actually it's interesting because that's also the thing to that why when you first start and when you continue going and connecting with your inner child, it's because and even starting like a certain point, say your 5-year-old self, going back there, is because it's like your 5-year-old self actually knows a whole lot more, but
mm,
they've been conditioned in to not. And then and you go back to that and realizing how like magic you are, how powerful you are, like in that way. That's another like big one. But it's been conditioned out of us.
yeah.
Yeah, it's that's the other thing too. It's like if you ask questions like why do we do this or why do we do that when you're younger, you get told, I don't know, because it's been done this way and blah blah blah, or I don't know
Is it?
what people are
Can I
told
tell
or
you the
kids are
funny
told.
question? The
Could be
question.
critical thinking.
Yeah.
You're basically told to shut that down. And I mean, not anymore, but I mean, with some parents, anyways.
Well, there was
Like,
this
yeah.
funny question that she was like, I was like, Emma. She took a shower. I was like, Emma, you need to put clothes on. She was like, well, why? And I was like, well, and I just walked away because it's like I was thinking, I was like, what do I tell her? you have to put clothes on because humans can't control themselves when looking at other individuals, and that maybe she should be you I'm not supposed to see you naked. It's like, well, why? Like, what would she think if I said that? It's like, what? You're not allowed to see me naked? Do you not want to see me naked? Like, is there something wrong with my body? Is
It's
there something
also
that
like
right?
with like it's also with like with nude beaches in like France, I don't know, in Europe, let's say, versus I know in Canada, there's like one nude beach that that's like a place. But if you grew up in Europe, it's just normal to be like, I guess like topless. It's just normal. But
Yeah.
if you were to do that over here, like people are like, what are you doing? Or it's like
Mhm.
it's just it, but it's because it's your reality too,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like I wasn't allowed to wear a two-piece bathing suit when I was younger, but all the other
mhm,
kids
good.
could wear a two-piece bathing suit. And my mom was 39 when she had me. And so when she was younger, she wasn't allowed to wear a two-piece bathing suit. So therefore I wasn't allowed. But yet everybody else was allowed. So I was like so confused by that, right? But to her mind, it made sense because that's what she did years and years and years ago. And that still makes sense to her. But your things were a bit outdated or like things
Yeah.
change, things, evolve, right?
Yeah.